Okay. It may be working here. Hang on. There's always a delay on the playback channel. We're working on it. It looks like it's live. It's looking like it's live. Come on, sweetheart. I'm just going to go ahead and assume that you guys can see this. I'll be looking for comments that you can see it in the chat section. It's generally a delay of about 15 seconds. Hey, there it is. I'm just going to go ahead and assume All right. that you guys can see this. I'll be looking. All right. Well, let me explain to you what's happened here. The Ustream software that I have used since the beginning of this is simply doesn't see the internet, which is kind of strange because everything else sees the internet. I've got my Mad Doctor hair on today. So, poking around, I went to like a page that I hadn't seen before, and then all of my control console that has all of my music, all of my graphics, all of that stuff is just plain dead. But I do get kind of a online screen thing that I found. So it's actually not something I'm controlling from my desktop. It's something I'm controlling from the web, apparently. And it's real basic. So two things have happened since we saw you last. One of regarding this nightmare, half an hour late start or so. One of them is that we got new internet for the building. One of the main reasons was to improve, the Stratosphere Lounge experience, although that had been pretty stable for several shows, and start working with some large files. So we wanted to do that. And that's different. And now it says Ustream is IBM Cloud Video, and I'd never seen that before. So when Ustream is IBM Cloud Video, what that's telling me is pretty soon Ustream is not going to exist. It's now going to be IBM Cloud Video that we're going to be speaking to you on. And I suspect what's happened is they've shut down the kind of the old Ustream option and given me this real pale indication in order to get us to pony up to the pro broadcasting plans, which are simply insanely, ridiculously expensive. It's just crazy. It's like it's just insane what they're charging for it. So anyway, it looks like somebody is, sound is occasionally garbly. Everything's garbly because the controls are going up to the web and then down and then back over to you or something, but it's not coming out of the box. So I will have to look at what has happened to Ustream and what's going to happen to Ustream. But what looks pretty clear anyway is that I'm going to have to uninstall all of my existing Ustream software that I've been using since episode 1, I think, and then figure out what it is that IBM cloud streaming is all about and what they want to do. In any event, perseverance pays off. I'm awful sorry about that super late start. It's blocky and choppy and all the rest of this nonsense, but there's not much I can do about that. And lip syncs out by about a half a second. Fantastic. I suspect that probably what I'll do, it's like $99 a month, Victoria, for this, which I'm happy to pay. But the problem is it's $99 a month for a certain number of viewers, as I recall. And when you get beyond that number, they start charging you by the viewer hour. Now, given that it's the Stratosphere Lounge, I guess I shouldn't be too concerned about having to pay by the viewer hour. But nevertheless, it's still an open-ended kind of thing. So here's what we'll do. How about if we do kind of a short show today? And I am going to... got an appointment tomorrow at 4, but I'm going to try and be out of that as early as I can, spend the day working on this. So how about if we do just kind of a short one today, and then I will come back, spend the day tomorrow on trying to solve this, and we'll do another show tomorrow night. We'll get 2 for the price of 1 on account of this awfulness. Go back to 35mm film, exactly. Yes. So anyway, sorry about the rocky start. Hope everybody's doing well. And I had some things to show you, but I can't because I can't upload anything. I've got no controls for music, video, stills, nothing. It's just a flat little box that says turn it on and turn it off, basically. So hopefully we can come back with this tomorrow. But it's been a while, so I'm actually obviously glad to be here. And as I say, we'll be doing. Ustream's been on IBM for 2 years. Is that right, David Wellman? Well, maybe I just didn't catch it. In any event, it must be the new internet connection. That's the only other thing that's changed since then. We got a new a new internet connection. They were offering me 500 megabytes down and 500 megabytes up for the same rate that they were previous contenders were charging for, I don't know, 10 or 15 megabytes up, maybe 7, 8, 9, something like that. So 500 up and 500 down is marvelous. Um, so that's good news. And I'm sure we'll find a way to get it hooked up and get that solved. I just have to spend most of the day on it tomorrow, I get the feeling. But that's okay. It makes me happy to do that. Yeah, this was 179 and a half, says Bone Canoe. No, actually, this will be 179. We'll do 180 tomorrow, and we'll take it from there. So sorry about the mangled beginning here. I'm going to keep this one pretty simple, and then I'll get to other things tomorrow when I can get more of the elements involved and maybe get my hair straightened out a little bit. It looked like I got hit by lightning. It's a good look for me, but in any event, you get the idea. So I also have to decide now whether I want to follow the stream that's showing me in sync or whether I want to do the comments section and see what people are saying. So I will do that. Anyway, I hope everybody's been well. It's been a couple weeks since we've been here. It's 2 weeks ago, it says, for episode 179. So this would be, yeah, we missed 2 weeks. We're in the same shirt, apparently. That should help eliminate some of the confusion. And it's been a busy 2 weeks. Was a little bit sick for 4 or 5 days, I guess. And my beautiful wife Natasha, who should be watching now, for all of you in the comment section. And hey, Tia Molisa, are you the person I saw at Safe in California? I'll be back. In any event, yes, I'm sure you must be. Good to see you. It was so good meeting you. So now Natasha's just a little bit under the weather, and it's kind of amazing because she's been here for 19 months now, I guess. And it's the first time she's come down with any kind of little cold at all. She said she was getting sick in Russia all the time. It's, that's what freezing mud will do for you, I guess. So anyway, we had the big Save in California event, and we had ourselves quite a day there. That by the time I got home, that ended up being a 12-hour day. But God bless Jenny Sands for putting it on. She basically did the whole thing out of pocket, and it was fun being there for the whole day. Yes, I just saw. Oh, so it must be Tiama Lisa. Yes, I saw Lisa, and Lisa was absolutely lovely, and I so enjoy meeting Strata Loungers and members and so on, and it's just such a pleasure, and Lisa, you're just an absolute joy. Just both of you guys were just so much fun to meet, and this always cheers me up so much. It's just a wonderful experience to get to meet people who I feel like are friends of mine. So yes, it was great to see it. It was a big event, a lot of speakers, a lot of stuff going on, and since then I did an event out in Camarillo, which is a lovely group of people. Camarillo Federated Republican Women's Federated, something like that. Lovely, lovely people. That is probably the oldest crowd in terms of just the age of the attendees that I think I do, and I love them. They're wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people. But I went out there and told the story about my Media Matters experience and how we are basically facing the wrong way. That all of our we're like Singapore, where all of our guns are facing the ocean, and the enemy's coming in through the jungle on bicycles behind us. And talked a little bit more about doing some of these video game videos and stuff. This is what I want to talk about just very briefly, and I'll talk about it some more tomorrow. And even these very, very old ladies completely seem to get it. So I just would like to say something about that, because I know a lot of people have been very, especially hardcore fans like Stratolongers and stuff, been a little concerned about all the time I've been spending on this. The thing that I don't guess I ever made clear enough, and that I'd like to make clear now, and I'll talk some more about this tomorrow, is, well, it's twofold. First of all, I won't be giving up doing what I'm doing, but more importantly, this isn't me going off to play video games. This is political messaging, and I think it is far more effective political messaging. And I suspect that in fact, I'm pretty sure that even including my incredible wife, who sees so many things about things that I don't see and has so many improvements for things that I don't see, she points out something, and I get a little huffy about it because I've just put 9.5 hours worth of dial twisting into trying to get something the way I more or less look at it. And she goes, "Oh, these eyes don't look right," or "That face is funny looking." It's like, "Oh, thanks a lot. That's great." Next day I look at it and I realize the eyes don't look right and the face is funny. And so anyway. But in any event, I think even my beautiful darling Natasha, who is watching now, I don't think anybody fully gets what it is I am going to do here. I know there's some members of on the organization in the game saw some previews, and they've got a pretty good idea what it's going to look like. And I think a few people have some idea what it's going to look like. Some people have some idea about the basics of the interaction with the game crowd and all the rest of it. But to suffice it to say, I mean this in the best possible way. I really genuinely do. I don't want to be misunderstood about this by any of the many people who care so much about me and who love me so much and who I love back, certainly all of them. But I know I'm getting a lot of looks and a lot of the guy's lost his mind, he's gone off the rails kind of thing. And believe me, I'm actually extremely grateful for that, because it takes a real special friend to tell you when they think that you're off the rails. And I don't know how to explain this other than to say that there have been 2 or 3 times in my life where I have felt a pull, and the pull got greater and greater and greater until it became irresistible. And at that point, I just basically gave into it. And so far, I'm what is it? Did I say twice? Maybe 2, 3 times. I'm 2 out of 2 or 3 out of 3. It's kind of an interesting thing. I've got a couple of fundraisers set up. I'm going to try and get the money to do 3 of these as demos, because I think if I can do 3 demos, even if I can do 1 demo, people will understand why I've been feeling so strongly about this, why I've dedicated so much time to it. It's just simply, I'm looking at the reality of the situation on the ground here. And I'm speaking to you now as friends, and to those of you who are as members, I'm speaking to you as I might speak to at a stockholders meeting. But let me give you the sort of the uber picture here. Sometimes things come to me, and when they come to me very strongly in such a way I don't understand it, that's usually a sign of something important. But I think the thing that really iced it for me and really put me into overdrive on this was at the Saving California event, where somebody was talking about the demographics that we're facing. And they showed an electoral map of the United States. And basically, it showed what the country would look like in a presidential election if the vote was tomorrow and only millennials voted. And the The map is like this. Republicans carry Utah for 6 electoral votes, and the Democrats carry everything else for 532 electoral votes. The map is 100% blue, except for Utah. That's if millennials voted, and only millennials voted today. Now, people have said to me, and I agree, that as people get older, they tend to become more conservative, and that's true. But the problem is they don't get to vote when they're older. They're voting now, and they're voting now blue. Big, deep, dark blue all across the board. Sometimes, you don't know about things, whether it's just a hunch, and I try so hard to be honest with myself. I have such a tendency sometimes just to run off into the weeds that I've learned to be very careful about this and give it careful thought. And I feel like I've been as responsible about this as I can have been. But here's a couple of the equations I'm looking at that matter to me. The first one is that these people are not coming to us. And not only are they not coming to us, they won't watch any content I do anyway. They simply won't watch it. And I'd love to tell you they won't watch it because they're so politically opposed to it, but that's not the reason they won't watch it. They won't watch it because it's not entertainment. It's instruction, the stuff I'm doing now. And after a great deal of thought, I've realized that that the primary thing, and Natasha helped me see this too, the primary thing really is that these people are interested in one thing and one thing only, and that's entertainment. And the message has to be, to say that the message has to be entertaining would be to muddy the waters. I try to make the political messages that I do as entertaining as possible, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about making a political message entertaining. I'm talking about making entertainment have one single hidden political message in it so that people will watch it. And that means 3 minutes, 4 minutes, and it means all of the bells and whistles to keep people watching something for 3 or 4 minutes. And I don't know of anybody who's doing this or talking about doing this. I don't know of anybody who's talking about doing this. And that's why I think it's a good idea. There are so many different advantages for this, not the least of which is getting a chance to work with Alfonso Rachel on a show-by-show basis. And, having had the pleasure of seeing, Bill Whittle, white supremacist, on 60 newspapers around the country a couple, 5-6 weeks ago, it is interesting to me how they're going to tag that racism card on a couple of characters who are 25-year-old friends who basically are the only two people in the entire world that trust one another. And I've mentioned before the fact that there are so many tools in the box that I don't get to use, music and timing and conversation dialogue, all of that. But I did do some test renders and showed them to the people who are involved with the game end of this, and they seem to be impressed. One or two of them may be watching now. Maybe they can put up something in the comment section there, give you an idea. I'll have them for you tomorrow. I was going to have them today, but I can't get any elements into this the way it is now. I'm looking at my political effectiveness, folks. I'm not looking for an excuse to wander off into the video game world. I'm looking at how I can be as effective as possible, and I'm just 100% convinced that this is the way. I would watch this, and I think a lot of people will watch it, and I don't know. I do know what good it does to keep preaching to the choir, because I thought at first my idea was to change minds, but I've spent the last 10 years preaching to the choir. I say that with a great deal of respect and admiration, and admiration for myself and my own work. Preaching to the choir basically means making sure that people don't get so discouraged that they give up the game. I mean, everybody that comes and talks to me, like Lisa, we met at the Saving California thing, and so many hundreds of other people that I've met come up to me and say, "Oh, you really kept me sane," and so on. So, um, if it hadn't been for doing that kind of thing, I think we would have been just completely, really down the drain. Um, but there has to be a look at the future. And I get the feeling that, as I've been saying, um, we took the last election as a big victory and as a big reprieve. And I think not so much the American people, but given the failure of the Republican Congress, I suspect we're going to lose that House. And if we do, then it's going to be impeachment proceedings starting on January when they seat the new members. I mean, like immediately. That doesn't mean it's going to succeed, but they're going to be instituted if the Democrats get enough of a House to do it. So I'm looking at the I'm looking at the map, and I'm asking myself, what can I do to do the most good to try and save this country as much as I can? And looking at the map, which is solid blue for people of an age group that are not being spoken to by us at all, I need a mask. I need cover. I also want to be clear on this. I'm not talking about keeping the secret, because you can't keep it secret, but I'm certainly not going to make it public. This is one of Natasha's biggest worries and criticisms, is that my people like you watching this are not going to see any of the work that I do. I'm certainly going to link to it, but it's not going to have my name on it, and it's not going to have anybody's name on it. And I'm not going to deny that I'm doing it, but I'm not going to advertise that I'm doing it either. So when you factor in all of these things, it seems to me to be the smart way to go. And somewhere about a week ago, maybe a little more, maybe 2 weeks ago when I was in Chicago, some switch got moved in my head finally that said, okay, you've been building up a great deal of, favors and brownie points all around with various people and so on. It's time to call them all in now and get on with this. Because, as Eric mentioned, he wants to make sure that this doesn't get us away from the movies. I've been talking about doing movies since I've had BillWhittle.com 4 or 5 years now. And the thing that I also wanted to say about this, because it's important to me that you guys understand where I am and what I'm doing, and I get great feedback from all of you. Somebody had pointed out that more and more movies are being made that are basically largely CG things. 300 is a great example, and that was, I want to say, 2009. It's basically a bunch of sweaty guys in leather bikinis standing in front of a green screen. But I really liked that movie quite a lot. Not for the reasons I mentioned just a few seconds ago. I just thought it was a good movie about courage and so on. But not only are the world of movies moving into the world of things like motion capture and so on, but as the software continues to improve, and it's improving as always exponentially, we are reaching the point now where putting a footprint down allows us to begin to branch out into doing serious work. In order to get the money I need to do Big Bad Problems, which is still top of my list, I'm going to need a card to play in addition to my political card. It's not a huge budget. I'm pretty sure I can get it. But what would make it much easier would be for me to be able to say, here is strictly entertainment movie stuff. This is what I can do in the world of entertainment as a writer-director, and then I think that'll probably ice it. So I don't want anybody to think it's the end of firewalls or anything like that. But it has consumed an awful lot of my time, and it continues to do so. And things will improve when I raise the budget for the 3 demos, because then I'll be able to hire people to do the things that I've been learning on my own, basically. And Dave Wellman says, "Who needs actors anymore?" And you know, the truth of it, Dave, is pretty much that. We're at the point now. The people that I showed some of these latest stills to, which have come a long way since when I started talking about this back in June, I want to say, but still way short of what a good professional could do in very, very little time. But given the number of things I've done in movies, from writing scripts to helping distribute them, I've done every single aspect of it. I've even done sound recording and things that, way out there for me. But the one thing I've never been able to do was I've cast actors many. Excuse me, that word actors chokes in my throat every time. I've cast actors many times, but I've never been able to create actors. And I created 5 of them. I just sat down and played with the dials. And hey, Eric, I don't know anything about Bloomhouse Productions. Sorry to interrupt. Can you send me an email to info@billwhittle.com and give me some kind of heads up on them? I'd love to follow up on it. Okay, so basically what I'm saying is I've never had a chance to actually create actors before, but I did. I created 5 of them, and I showed them to Steve and Scott, and they said, "Are there backstories on these people?" And as it turns out, there are, because I wanted them to look different. And when you show somebody a still picture, and their first comment is, "Hey, that looks great. What's the backstory on this guy?" Then you have already succeeded, because you have created an interest in something that wasn't there before. Cheryl Toomey wants to know if it's my semi-retirement from political videos. It's actually, I'm not talking about semi-retiring at all. I'm talking about putting in much more work than I can into political videos. It's just I may not be the star of all of them. It may be my writing and somebody else's voice and somebody else's face. I'm hoping it might be my voice with somebody else's face, because that would be the most cost-effective way to do it. But in any event, do we need extras? Yes. And by the way, one of the great things about this idea of facial motion capture is I can hire guys who are like really good friends, some voiceover actors and so on. And using motion capture, you can have a guy who's 58 years old and 320 pounds. All of his facial performance is mapped onto a guy who's 6'7" and 38 years old, and all the rest of it. So it is a tremendous amount of power and flexibility. That's exactly right. Ohio Kosi says you get voice actors, they don't have to look the part, they have to be able to act. And this is maybe just one more thing I'd like to just throw in. Having spent a great deal of time working on the faces of these characters, and having now just doing some very, very basic animation tests, I started in computer graphics. I had a computer graphics business starting in 1992 or 1993. I had 3D Studio Max version 2, which I bought as a pirate edition. I had to meet a guy after 4 phone calls. I met him in his basement. It was like a drug deal, and he gave me something like, no exaggeration, I want to say it was 45, 46 little 1 megabyte floppy disks. And so I've been doing this for a while, and I've done some character animation back in the mid-90s. And having done some hand animating of things like characters' faces and walks and looks around and stuff, none of this would be feasible at all without motion capture. And I can get a motion capture set for 2 people for probably $3,000. So just again, I know I'm off in the weeds here, but it's just sometimes I need to talk about these things. So let me tell you basically what that looks like. It's probably best to imagine me writing scripts with either my voice or somebody else's voice, but basically it's me. It's me and it's my political voice. In a world that has so much flash around it, it's got so much eye candy around it, that it's interesting and it grabs the attention of young people. But it's still me. And if I do it the way I'd like to do it, when you watch this character speak and move if I make the final decision for it to be my face on the lead, and certainly my massively overblown ego is telling me that's the way to go. What you would get is you would basically see a character that doesn't really look much like me, although a little tiny bit like me maybe. But when you hear and see the finished rendered recording, you'll find that all of the facial expressions, all of the movements are mine. I mean, there are some people who are mocap actors who can change all of those things, but basically, you would see a scene where I'm standing in a frickin' hangar deck surrounded by moving starfighters and stuff, and I'm having a conversation with Alfonso Rachel, and it would look like me. It would my mannerisms would be mapped onto that character because of the mocap, and the same for Zoe. And this is a way for us to get our political message into the heads of people who need to see it. Because again, I know I'm just blathering about this, but I know there are a lot of people that really are concerned about this, and I'm doing everything I can to try to sort of address those concerns. Where was I going with this? Oh, it flew right out of my head. It'll come back. Yeah, I guess the main point is, oh, I remember. The hook on the sale for when I'm out there trying to raise money for this is simply this. Here's the electoral map of America, how millennials would vote today. It's all blue except for Utah. This is how young people in their 20s and 30s are voting. More and more of them are spending time in the computer game world. And the hook is they are spending, these Bernie Sanders socialists, these people that have made this electoral map pretty much solid blue, those people call themselves socialists, vote for Bernie, and when you give them their own time and their own money, they retreat to a world where they get to act like conservatives. And that means they live in these virtual worlds and they make money and they arm themselves to the teeth. And if we don't take advantage of the fact that this entire blue generation is only blue because they're told they should be blue, but when you leave them alone, they retreat into a world where they can be blood red, pardon the expression. If we don't take advantage of that dichotomy between what they say and what they do, then we don't deserve a future for this country. It is the biggest lever that I've ever seen in terms of possibilities. It is such an enormous lever because there's no better way to get people to change the way they think about themselves than to confront them with their own behaviors. And maybe known miscreant Matt Lloyd is watching, or Loudmouth Fighter Pilot, Viper Check, one of those two guys. But I think the term that they used is grinding. I'm not sure about that. I think that was the term. In other words, in a video game, there may be a way to make some money. Even in something that I don't particularly care for, like Minecraft, you just walk around the landscape and just start chopping up the landscape until you get these things, and it basically is building money. And folks, it's a very strange thing, but it's so compelling to go out there and spend time making virtual money to buy virtual things. But when you realize, hey, I can just hop on my spaceship, make a trip out here to Deacon's Research Station, buy some pharmaceuticals, bring them back here and sell them, and basically double my money, it's very compelling. And I bring this up only to say this. When they call it grinding, I think, because, grind. They call it a grind because it's work. It's just, I'm going to fly from here to there, here to there. All I'm going to do is get in and fly from here to there, sell stuff here, pick up stuff, bring it back, sell it, make some money, go back, buy more stuff, take it over here, sell it, make more money, and do this. It's not terribly fun in a sense, but it's very addictive. And so here's the point. you will have so many video game players, and especially in like EVE Online and so on, who have invested hundreds or thousands of hours of their own time. Now, this isn't their time at work, and there isn't their time goofing off at Starbucks or anything. This is their own time. They've invested time in doing things that are not terribly fun in order to make the money they need in this virtual world to buy the things that they want. Now, if I come to them and say, all of that stuff that you've just spent the last several months just, grinding away on hour after hour after hour, accumulating, give me 93% of that and you can have 7. When I say that to them, their response is, are you nuts? I spent hundreds of hours walking around, poking my little pick into mountains or doing whatever I'm doing. I spent hundreds of hours to build up this money. Why should I give you 93% of it? Are you out of your mind? And then you can simply say, you know what? Now that you mention it, I guess it is kind of insane, isn't it, to support somebody who would want to take 93% of what you've spent the work and effort on and just take it away from you. That does seem a bit loony and rather evil. And this is how you change the map red. And that's my mission from the beginning, and it's my mission today, and it's going to continue to be my mission, is how do I make that map as red as possible during my time on Earth. It's a great halfway step between here and movies. Movies will be even more effective than this, but young people are going to movies less and less and less. They're watching less and less TV. Everything that's going on now is pretty much user-generated content on YouTube, or it's time in video game. And Victoria mentioned Twitch. Twitch is it's basically YouTube for live video game streams where you watch other people play games, and millions of people watch other people play video games. PewDiePie is, I think, the #1 subscriber on YouTube. Somebody can check for me. I'll check for myself. He's a Swedish guy, and he plays video games, and you watch the video game, and there's a little box in the corner where you get to watch PewDiePie. And this is the bulk of what he does. He's kind of a charming guy. And PewDiePie, hang on, there's some lunatic talking here. Shut up. Where is he? Yeah, let's find his, oh, okay. Yeah, as I write this, folks, the guy who plays video games online has a YouTube subscriber, but my YouTube subscriber base is about 100,000. PewDiePie's is 61 million subscribers, and PewDiePie doesn't get a whole lot of shadow banning because he's doing political comment. See how it works? So, yes, we do have a need for gamer extras. We do, absolutely. We have a need for all of the help, and we're going to go right straight to Stratosphere Lounge, and we're going to cast conservative actors in Hollywood. And the hope is, and then I will wrap it up, take a couple questions. But basically, the goal is this. Get the money for 3 demos, then get the money to do these things, 2 of them a month for a year. Building on that success, get the money to do Big Bet Problems, which is probably $1.5 million, $2 million, including marketing. And then using the success of that, start a physical, actual conservative studio, which functions kind of as a cultural fortress where people inside the fortress have the ability to speak to each other, and we get to go we get to go to lunch together and talk about things as conservatives. People in show business bring all of their existing businesses. I don't want them to work for me. I'd rather have them be successful. But basically, you have a location, a physical campus, and now you've got conservative sound studios there, and conservative video game houses, and conservative special effects houses, conservative sound people, conservative directors, conservative all of it. And then everybody gets to work on each other's projects. And as I've explained to a few other backers, if the accounting were done by humans, rather than by these soulless bastards over the hill behind me here, you would be able to get an incredible effect of scale and leverage in terms of the economics of it. So that's that, guys. Then, and I just wanted to let you know I've been around for a while. Been working on this, and I'm going to continue. But I wanted to let you know what we're doing. Okay, so let me take a couple YouTube, Facebook questions, and then I will come back tomorrow, and I'll try and do a second show and show you some more of these things. I won't spend nearly as much time on it, I hope. But let's see what's going on over in the world of the Facebook page.